get past this Royals series, we're going to be okay. We've got a lot of winnable series, and we've got sweepable series coming up here yet within these last 4 or 5 weeks of games as well. So don't fret the results of this current series too much, Twins fans, should we go on to lose tonight yet as well. But so then you got the Kansas City Royals locked in, winning the Central. Currently, we've got Toronto a game and a half in first place in the East, hoping that they hold on to that. That would leave the New York Yankees as the number one wild card team at 77 and 60. And then that would leave the Texas Rangers currently at 73 and 64 as the number 2 wild card spot. And the Twins would be 2.5 games behind that at 71 and 67, and the Twins are really the only team, it looks like, that has any chance of catching the Texas Rangers. And if the Texas Rangers don't start losing some series, it doesn't make any difference what the Twins do. The Rangers will not be caught. And unfortunately, I'm pretty sure we don't play the Rangers anymore this season. So we have no control in that. But so you've got Texas right now as the second wild card, like I said, with Minnesota Twins, 2.5 games behind them. You've got Houston Astros in first place in the West, a game and a half up on those Texas Rangers. I think your best bet, if you're a Twins fan, is the Texas Rangers continue to win. Hopefully they get to beat up on the Houston Astros a bunch, and so that the Houston Astros hit a downslide, and they're your number 2 wild card competition, and hopefully we can edge them out when it comes to the record. But so there's your American League Baseball playoff picture. All the teams I didn't mention are irrelevant. Forget about them. All right. And then now in the National League, we've got the New York Mets still hanging on to first place by 6 games in the NL East over the Washington Nationals. Nationals are playing the Mets in a series right now. I want to say last night in their game they were up 7-1 on them, the Nationals were, and they choked it away. Matt Williams, their manager, is definitely going to be getting fired at the end of this season. Strasburg was on the mound tonight for them. They did have a 2-1 lead over the Mets when I checked. Nope, scratch that, excuse me, they did not. That 2-1 lead over the Mets, it didn't last long, of course. If you weren't paying attention, again, the Washington Nationals are trying to catch up to the first-place Mets. Nationals are the better team. They were in first place. They've been slumping big time. They're playing the Mets head-to-head right now. Huge lead on them last night. Blew it. Tight game now this night, late in there. They blow it. So just goodbye, Mets are on their way to the playoffs, and if they are smart, the hot story there is pitcher Matt Harvey. He is their stud ace. He is coming back from an injury this year, and he was on a pitch count that they only made public now. He is going to surpass that pitch count if he continues to pitch in the regular season, or if he was shut down for the rest of the regular season and pitched 2 games in the postseason, he would still exceed that pitch count. So in my opinion, what they would be best to do is to deal with that. Act like they're in the playoffs. Bring Matt Harvey's workload down. Don't even play him till the playoffs, and just be safe. Do it right. Don't mess it up like the Nats did with Steven Strasburg last year. All right, and then in the Central, we've got 3 playoff teams. We've got the American League's best St. Louis Cardinals at 88 and 51, something like that. And then we've also got the Pittsburgh Pirates at 82 and 55, only 5 games back. They're the second best team. Oh my gosh, they're a half a game away from being the second best team in all of baseball, let alone the second best team in the National League. And they are still just the second best team in their division. Pittsburgh Pirates, man, I hope they win that 1-game play-in playoff with the other wild card and kick some butt then come divisional round. But then we've also got the Chicago Cubs playing amazing at 80 and 58. They would be in first place in the East or the West. Instead, they're stuck with the final wild card spot in a 1-game play-in. So I think that's something Major League Baseball really needs to relook at and revisit for next year. Out in the West, you've got the Dodgers with an 8.5-game lead over the falling San Francisco Giants. So there is your baseball, all right. All right, so wrapping up real quickly, I gotta get the UFC stuff in for my UFC fans because I did a bad job last week, and I'm not doing much better this week. But here's something at least. All right, so we had the big Johnson versus Dodson 2 UFC fight last week at UFC 191. Interestingly enough, it was the lowest live gate for a Vegas-based UFC pay-per-view in 11 years. So that's a little bit alarming if you're Dana White, or if you're, a hardcore UFC fan who's looking for it to, continue to grow on the mainstream level. That is slightly alarming. John Dodson, for the record, lost to Demetrius Johnson in this fight. Apparently Dodson is upset at fans who have blamed his loss due to the birth of his newborn daughter, somehow affecting his training or focus, or I don't know what. I'm totally on Dodson's side as far as being upset at fans over blaming the loss on his newborn daughter. Those people are just shameless, and I'm not going to give them any more of my time by talking about them. But that's all I got time to give you on the fight. Again, we're running out of time. But at least I gave you something this week. The next UFC event, I promise, I will try and do a better job because I do very much love Ultimate Fighting. I love mixed martial arts. I have been a huge fan of it for a very, very long time, many, many years. Which somewhat, not coincidentally, there's a little bit of a tie to this, but also happy anniversary Sega Dreamcast. Found out it's like the Sega Dreamcast birthday anniversary. Happy birthday. One of the best game consoles ever. But so that's all I got for UFC for this week. Try and do better in the future. All right, as I said earlier in the show as well, when it comes to boxing, we've got Floyd Mayweather and potentially his last professional fight of his career coming up this Saturday. That's right. How could something so monumentous be this Saturday and I don't even know or care about it? Because he's fighting Andre Berto, and also because Floyd Mayweather's last fight against Manny Pacquiao, which was, undoubtedly, no matter how it turned out, was going to be the biggest hyped, biggest buzzed fight of his career, was extremely boring and failed to satisfy fans from an entertainment standpoint. So that's why nobody knows and nobody cares and nobody's talking about it. And I also, again, the point being, don't buy for 1 second that this is Floyd Mayweather's last fight. However, if it is, that's pretty interesting and crazy, and we'll talk about his career then and his legacy and his place in boxing history when we get to that moment in time. All right, 2 more real quick topics. We got one more quickie in our Balls Deep Quickie Thought of the Day. All right, so again, if you've been listening to the show weekly, you know that we keep you up to date, or we've been trying to keep you up to date on your WNBA standings and playoff picture. So we've got a whole lot of stuff cleared up now. Basically, we've got all of the playoff teams decided. Some of the seeding, I believe, is all that is left to play for here in these last 3 to 4 days of their season before the playoffs start. So out in the Eastern Conference, we've got the New York Liberty clinching the home field, clinching the Eastern Conference, at 23-9. They are followed by the Chicago Sky at 20-12 with the 2 seed currently, the Indiana Fever at the 3 seed currently with 18-4, and the Washington Mystics having clinched up the 4th and final playoff spot at 16-15. Both the Atlanta Dream and Connecticut Sun at sub 500 are out of contention. So your 4 teams are clinched there. And then out in the West, we've also got the 4 teams clinched. Your Minnesota Lynx at 22-11 have clinched the Western Conference. The Phoenix Mercury at 19-13 will be the number 2 seed most likely. The Tulsa Shock at 17-15 are your 3 seed. And then the 4th seed, sub 500, 14-19, Los Angeles Sparks are your 4 seed. So it doesn't get much easier than that, at least on paper, for your number 1 seed Minnesota Lynx come WNBA playoff time. All right, well, that is everything for Quickies, and we are going to end the show here, as we do every week, with Balls Deep Thought of the Day. So our Balls Deep Thought of the Day brings up some NBA news, and I wanted to let everybody know that apparently the NBA has decided to change its playoff seeding based off of much complaint this last year and previous years, primarily due to the fact that the Western Conference has more than 8 great teams, and the Eastern Conference rarely has more than 3 to 5. Yet each conference gets 8 team representatives, and also the winners of the divisions automatically get a home game. That is the one thing they changed, basically. I believe they still have divisions, and I believe that the winners of the 3 divisions in each conference do get an automatic playoff berth. However, I don't believe that winning the division determines your seeding at all. The specific seeding then from those top 8 teams will be strictly based off of record. And so Balls Deep Thought of the Day is, was this the right change? Is this a good change to the NBA playoff format? Did they need to do this? Is this a knee-jerk reaction to just a situation that we're dealing with right now? And 5 years from now, it would have been evened out, but instead, because of the change, now it's going to be complicated. I don't know. I think it's a decent first step. I don't think it's anything too drastic where it's going to make anything any worse, at least not right away. And if it's problematic or too complicated, they'll just go back to the old way, which we know works good enough. Let me know what you think. Please let me know what you think about anything at any point in time. Tweet me at BDST Show. Like me and friend me on Facebook at Scotty-Ball. Thank you so much for tuning in this week and every week on WNLMradio.com, or perhaps you listen to us on demand on the TuneIn app, the Spreaker app, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Thanks as always. I hope you tune in next week. Same Balls Deep time, same Balls Deep channels. I'm out of here. Wish me luck in my fantasy draft. Peace!